This tutorial will cover pattern modifiers. These are global settings that are saved with each pattern. These include settings such as the pattern length, the last step, the time signature, the shuffle setting, the pattern direction, the pattern rotation, pattern transpose, and the filter cartridge mode. So time signature is set using the time button and selecting one of the scale options as shown. Depending on how you divide the grid, you may view these as 1/4, 2/4, 4/4, and 8/4 time. And if you double-click time signature, it will select the triplet variation. Also, you have shuffle. You set this by holding the time button and then pressing one of the shuffle settings as indicated by the shuffle text and arrow pointing to the numbers here. You can have up to 5 shuffle settings depending on the time signature of the pattern. Here's 4. Here's a setting of 2. And 5. Before I forget, I should cover the setting of the last step and describe pattern sections. To set the last step, first select the pattern section of the desired last step, and then press and hold time, and then press the step button of the last step. Each pattern can have 4 sections, or 4 bars. The section is selected by pressing the section button and the section you want to focus on for editing. Section 1, Section 2, there's nothing in there. Section 3 and Section 4, there's nothing in there yet because we were only using a 1-bar pattern. If we want a 32-step pattern, we'll go to the second section and then set the last step to 16. I'll put some random data in there. You can see it cycling through the sections. Next, I'll cover active steps. Active steps simply refer to which steps are active in a pattern and will be played, as opposed to steps that have been turned off and will be skipped. Here we have a pattern with 16 steps. If I press time plus active, you can see which steps are active and which are disabled. Active steps are indicated by the lit step LED indicators. Here I've set 4 steps in active, and we effectively have a 12-step pattern. Now we have 7 steps. Now 6. And then now I'll put them all back to active steps. Now we'll go over pattern direction. To set the pattern direction, you press function along with the 2 numbered buttons here, referring to the graphic. Here is backwards. Here's pendulum. So in pendulum mode, it repeats the last step, so the pattern retains the same length. And lastly is random. In the random pattern direction, each step retains its specific parameters, but the steps themselves are played in a random order. So you can see the step LEDs here jumping around randomly. Now I'll demonstrate active steps, pattern length, and pattern direction all at the same time. So you can see how they interact and how manipulating patterns is very flexible. For example, I'll set the pattern length to 12 steps by setting the last step to step 12. Now I'll set the pattern direction to forward. Now I'll go in and set some steps in active. Now if I set the pattern direction to backwards, it'll still skip those inactive steps. Here I'll add a little sub-oscillator and set the final VCA response to full range. Now I'll demonstrate the transpose setting. You press pitch, and then you set the octave and semitone transpose amount using the up, down, and keyboard buttons. So the root pattern is low C. So here's the root pattern. I can go up a couple semitones, up another octave, and here down a few octaves. I have a new pattern here that I'll use to show the next pattern modifier, which is pattern rotation. Pattern rotation is done by pressing and holding function, and then pressing one of the rotation arrows. The last pattern modifier I'll cover is pattern randomize. You press function plus random, and it'll store random pattern data to the current pattern location. Pattern randomization respects the current time signature, pattern length, and active steps settings. To show this, I'll clear a pattern. I'll go into time mode and set it to 3/4 time. Now I'll generate a random pattern. And you can see it respects the time signature. Here I'm just adding more note events. Now I'll take out a couple active steps. Now I'll generate a random pattern again. You can see that it still respects the active step settings. So you can see this is a way to control the pattern length or the time signature and some of the relative time properties of the pattern.